Move aside, LambChop, you're no longer everyone's favorite lamb. Now we prefer this cute little lamb who is the leader of a satanic cult. Seriously, imagine a cult full of adorable, cartoony animals that you provide with shelter and food, only to eventually sacrifice their bodies so that your little lamb can become more powerful and rich. An adorable little wolf joins your village, but you sacrifice it to turn it into a pile of bones and meat. In Cult of the Lamb, you'll have to decide if you use that cute little wolf's meat to feed your remaining cultists to keep them satiated and potentially turn them into cannibals, but you'll also use that wolf's bones for future satanic rituals or to build bone walls in your cult village. So if you haven't been able to tell already, this is a review for a video game called Cult of the Lamb. If you don't know me, my name's Delilah, aka ASSASSINA-san. Welcome back to my channel, where I typically talk about all things video games, whether it be a review of a video game, a reaction to a video game conference, or a full playthrough of a new game. Cult of the Lamb is pretty much Animal Crossing, but for dark minds. The farming sim elements aren't nearly as deep, but in this game you're still cooking, fishing, farming, building homes, decorating your village, caring for the sick, and doing quests for your villagers called followers. Any dissenting followers can be jailed and re-educated on the doctrines of the cult. You can also feed your followers bowls of poop, meals that will increase their loyalty, or you can cook the bodies of sacrificed followers. The lamb you play as can extort money, inflict fear to raise devotion, or perform rituals that makes everyone work without sleep. It's really sick and twisted, but also really adorable. I'm not even a person who typically likes farming sim games. What kept me engaged in Cult of the Lamb, aside from the cute satanic aesthetic, is it's not just a sim game, but it implements roguelike dungeon crawling elements. There are 4 dungeons you unlock once you get enough followers, and each dungeon has 2 mini-bosses and a main boss. These dungeons aren't just important for the main story, but also to gather resources and gain more followers to build your village. The village continues to function while you're dungeon crawling, so the followers continue to work, get hungry, and age. The combination of dungeon crawling and farming sim building was extremely addictive. It kept someone like me, who doesn't typically like farming sim games, really engaged. I spent hours staying up late and going through the motions. It was as if I was a follower under the spell of this satanic lamb's cult. If you're someone who is in it just for the farming sim elements, you may be wondering if the dungeon crawling will turn you off. I think the mechanics are simple and satisfying enough to get you through. There's a variety of cool weapons and curses you unlock. The weapons could be quick poison daggers or a giant freeze axe coupled with a curse that can do a giant AoE attack to knock enemies back, or a projectile that seeks enemies out. Each dungeon is randomly generated, so the weapons and curses that spawn will also be random. You'll revisit the dungeons for side quests to gather resources exclusive to that dungeon, or if you fail to complete it the first time, hence the roguelike features. The only thing about Cult of the Lamb that I can imagine being a turnoff for hardcore farming sim fans is the building is very limited. I 100%ed the game, unlocked all decorations and upgrades, found all the different follower skins, and completed all of the core quests in less than a week. Although at this point I was done with the game, you can still continue to do repeat fetch quests, redecorate your village, and revisit dungeons. At this point though, I didn't feel there was any good incentive to continue. I was more than satisfied ending my time with the game after 100%ing it, but it may fall short for those who are looking for a substantial farming sim experience. It was perfectly structured for me though, and I really loved my time with it. The only real complaint I have about Cult of the Lamb is it's very buggy. Too often the game would lag or freeze if there was too much going on the screen. I could have had a perfect dungeon run with a god weapon, good card perks, and a strong curse, but it all went to shit if the game bugged out. Unfortunately, you can only save progress in the village, so any dungeon progress will be lost if it bugged out. Thankfully, the dungeons are short and simple enough to run through again. The most frustrating bug that I encountered is that I couldn't edit some things that I built, thus removing my autonomy over my village aesthetics. I believe the developers Massive Monster are aware of these issues and working on fixes. Cult of the Lamb isn't really a story-based game, but I was still surprised to see story twists and choices that made me go on YouTube after beating the game to discover alternative decisions and their outcomes. Even some core side quests leave the cute little lamb to make some sadistic decisions. I really enjoyed the simple but good story. I know I may have painted this to be a twisted game, but its presentation and lack of graphic gore make it safe enough for even kids to play. Although I think you'll have a lot of weird explaining to do along the way. Like I said, everything is cute. It's cartoony and colorful, although you can decorate your village with skulls and bone piles made of your dead followers' bones, which is metal as fuck. I totally vibed with this game's aesthetic, and that's partially due to the music being an absolute bop. You sacrifice your villagers, slay enemies, and impose your doctrines to this chill lo-fi music. Another element adding to this game's success is the Twitch integrations, but this was limited to PC versions only. If the Cult of the Lamb Twitch extension is enabled, a streamer's viewers can have one of of the Lamb's followers be named after them. Twitch viewers can also contribute to the totem to increase the streamer's devotion and money. It's a really cool engagement tool that only adds to the game's experience. I just really wish the developers found a way to enable this integration for other platforms. Massive Monster created a gem with Cult of the Lamb. They combined genres together and made it work in a way that is extremely addictive. This roguelike dungeon crawling farming sim is absolutely one of my favorite games of 2022 so far. So that's it with the review for Cult of the Lamb. I hope that you liked it. If you did, I would really appreciate a sub and a like if you can, maybe a comment if you want to share your experience of Cult of the Lamb or your thoughts on this review overall. I would really appreciate it. But the most important thing is that you guys take care of yourselves and each other.